Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the supplemental public hearing pursuant to Section 859 of the General Municipal Law for Zinc8 Energy Solutions USA. Can we open with the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The mission statement of the agency. The mission statement of the agency is the following. The mission of the Ulster County Industrial Development Agency is to advance the job opportunities, general prosperity, and long-term economic vitality of Ulster County residents by targeting tax incentives, bonds, and other assistance to foster creation and attraction of new business and the retention and expansion of existing business. So good evening. My name is Michael Ham. I'm the chair of the Ulster County Industrial Development Agency in connection with the project, which is the subject of tonight's public hearing. I note that as required by New York law, the agency is live streaming this public hearing. Before we start, I would like to introduce Supervisor of the Town of Ulster, James Quigley, Bond Counsel Joe Scott, Lisa, our administrator, Rob Parker, who is here from Zinc8, Mike Moriello, attorney for Zinc8. I'll now ask our counsel, Joe Scott, to provide some background information regarding the purpose of this public hearing. Joe?
Thank you, Chair. Today we are holding this public hearing to allow citizens to make a statement for the record relating to the involvement of the agency with a project, the proposed project for Zinc8 Energy Solutions USA, Inc., a New York State corporation. The original proposed project consisted of the following: the acquisition and installation of certain machinery and equipment and other tangible personal property, including without limitation tenant improvement and finish, and the undertaking of various tenant and interior fit-up and other improvements to the building containing approximately 237,000 square feet of space located on parcels of land at 300 Enterprise Drive, the former IBM Business Park site in the town of Ulster, Ulster County, New York. The land of the facility to be owned by iPark 88 LLC and leased by the owner to the company to be used by the company as a manufacturing, commercial, industrial facility for commercial, manufacturing, and warehouse space and related uses. The financing of all or a portion of the cost of the foregoing by the issuance of revenue bonds of the agency in one or more issues or series in an aggregate principal amount sufficient to pay all or a portion of the cost of undertaking the original project, together with necessary incidental costs in connection therewith, presently estimated to equal approximately $10 million, the original obligations, and the payment of a portion of the costs incidental to the issuance of the original obligations, including issuance costs of the original obligations and any reserve funds as may be necessary to secure the original obligations, the granting of certain other financial assistance within the meaning of the IDA statute with respect to the foregoing, including exemption from certain sales tax, and the lease or sale of the project facility to the company or such other person as may be designated by the company and agreed upon by the agency. Please note that this public hearing is the second public hearing held by the agency with respect to the project. The first public hearing was held on January 31st, 2023. Copies of the report of the first public hearing are available on the agency's website. And we have available on the front here the website information for the agency. Subsequent to the first public hearing, the agency also adopted a resolution dated March 15, 2023, pursuant to which the agency determined that the project constituted a Type 2 action, as such quoted term is defined under seeker, and therefore that no further action with respect to the project was required under seeker, and adopted a resolution dated March 15, 2023, the bond resolution, pursuant to which the agency authorized, among other things, the issuance of the agency's tax-exempt industrial development revenue bonds in the maximum aggregate principal amount not to exceed $10 million, for the purpose of financing a portion of the original project. The agency is holding this second public hearing because the company has submitted a letter to the agency requesting that the agency amend the original application to consider financing all or a portion of the cost of the original project as amended by the issuance of the Series 2023A bonds and taxable revenue bonds of the agency in one or more issues or series in an aggregate principal amount sufficient to pay all or portion of the cost of the undertaking the project, together with necessary incidental costs in connection therewith, presently estimated to equal approximately $5 million, but in any event not to exceed $10 million, the taxable obligations, and collectively with the Series 2023 tax-exempt bonds, the obligations. There has not, however, been any significant change in the description of the original project. I intend to provide general information on the agency's general authority and public purpose to provide assistance to this proposed project. I will then ask Chairman Ham to open the comment period to receive comments from all present who wish to comment on either the proposed project or the financial assistance contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. However, before discussing the general information and opening the hearing for public comments, I would like to first ask Chair Ham to describe some details regarding the project as outlined in the completed application as amended and as discussed in the first public hearing.
Thank you, Joe. In the application as amended, the company has represented the following: that the project will create at least 298 full-time jobs following the third year of operation of the project facility. The creation of these jobs will increase local tax revenue and consumer spending in the community. 2, that the company would not undertake the project without the assistance being offered by the agency. 3, that the company understands and recognizes that the assistance being offered by the agency is subject to a clawback under the agency's clawback policy if the company does not complete the project or maintain the required employment levels. The estimated costs of the first phase of this multi-phase project are equal to approximately $14,750,000, and the estimated benefits being considered by the agency are described briefly as follows: sales tax exemption, $186,000; tax-exempt revenue bond financing, $10 million; and taxable revenue bond financing, $5 million, and in no event to exceed $10 million. Please note that no real estate abatement is being granted by the agency to the company in connection with the undertaking of this proposed project. The company is expected to be a tenant in the facility. The facility is owned by the owner, iPark 87 LLC, and the facility is subject to real property taxes. Please further note that under the IDA documents, the company will be subject to recapture of the financial assistance upon occurrence of certain recapture events. Examples of recapture events include the failure to complete the proposed project and make the promised investment and maintenance of the promised job levels. I will now ask Council Scott to provide general information on the agency's general authority and public purpose to provide assistance to the proposed project. Joe?
Thank you, Chair. The provisions of Chapter 1030 of the laws of 1969 of New York, constituting Title I of Article 18A of the General Municipal Law, Chapter 24 of the Consolidated Laws of New York as amended, and Chapter 787 of the 1976 Laws of New York as amended, constituting Section 23 of said General Municipal Law, collectively the Act authorizes the agency to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in the acquiring, constructing, reconstructing, improving, maintaining, equipping, and furnishing of manufacturing, warehousing, research, commercial, and industrial facilities, among others. Pursuant to Section 859A2 of the Act, prior to the agency providing any financial assistance of more than $100,000 to any project, the agency must, among other things, hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 859A of the Act with respect to such project. Since the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project may exceed $100,000, then prior to providing any such financial assistance, the agency must hold a public hearing on the nature and location of the project facility and the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project. After consideration of the application as amended received from the company, The members of the agency adopted a resolution on April 19, 2023, authorizing the agency to, among other things, conduct this second public hearing with respect to the taxable obligations, the additional bonds, for the proposed project pursuant to 859A2 of the Act. By way of background, notice of this public hearing was published on May 12, 2023 in the Daily Freeman, a newspaper of general circulation available to the residents of the town of Ulster, Ulster County, New York. In addition, as required by New York law, the public hearing resolution was mailed on May 1, 2023 to the town supervisor of the town of Ulster, the county executive, the chairman of the county legislature, and the superintendent and the Board of Education president of the Kingston City School District. And notice of this public hearing was mailed on May 10, 2023 to the town supervisor and the balance of the affected taxing jurisdictions. Lastly, a copy of the public hearing notice was posted on May 11, 2023 on a public bulletin board located at the Town of Ulster Town Hall and on the agency's website. Copies of the notice of this public hearing are available on this table. Now, unless there's any objection, I'm going to suggest waiving the full reading of the notice of this public hearing and instead request that the full text of the notice of this public hearing be inserted into the record of this public hearing. Any objections? Hearing none. The comments today received at this public hearing will be presented to the members of the agency at or prior to a meeting at which the members of the agency will consider whether to approve the issuance of the taxable obligations for the proposed project by the agency and the granting of the agency of any financial assistance in excess of $100,000 with respect to the proposed project. The agency currently intends to consider the comments received this evening regarding the proposed project at the meeting of the agency to be held on June 21, 2023. This meeting, like all meetings of the agency, is open to the public and also subject to live streaming. The notice of this public hearing indicated that written comments could be addressed to Ms. Lisa Purcell, the administrative personnel of the agency. The agency has received no written comments prior to this public hearing. I will now ask Chair Ham to introduce the representatives of the company who will provide some additional information on the proposed project.
Thank you, Joe. I will now introduce Robert Parker, who is appearing on behalf of the company, who will describe the proposed project in further detail. Rob?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you all for having me. Again, Robert Parker for Zinc8 Energy. CEO Ron McDonald sends his regrets. Unfortunately, some prior business in Vancouver kept him there, so you're stuck with their U.S. representative. And just to reiterate what was mentioned by Joe Scott and Mike Ham, that there is nothing different in the project as was originally approved in January and March and April. This was done in consultation with KeyBank Capital Markets, who was our placement agent on the tax-exempt bonds of $10 million, in an effort to provide additional capital flexibility on the project for the other half that wasn't covered by the $10 million. Given the variety of things that go into putting together an assembly and manufacturing facility over the next few years and beyond, there's a lot of different moving parts in the capital stack components, and their request was that since they'll be shopping essentially the same tax-exempt bonds, they were hoping to be able to, at least if possible, see if there was a market for taxable as well. So that is why we are here. Nothing else has fundamentally changed. And it was the 5 to 10 million is really to capture, there might be some variable costs at the end with related to finance, interest rates, et cetera, that none of us can anticipate until the documents are actually executed and finalized. The only other things, I guess, to address is perhaps maybe on timetable as far as various things that are going forward. As far as we know, everything is still on the same timetable as originally presented in January and March and April. Anything in regards to, I believe there's been some difference of timetables of different phases of the project compared to what some state incentives might be for the 5 years of the project compared to the 3 years captured in this phase, I think has probably been caught up a few times. So this is again for the next 3 years of the phase of the project. So that might be why there's any discrepancy perhaps between job numbers or certain other incentives that are there. As far as commitment to moving it forward, staff from the company have been on site with our advisors from Ramble Engineering as recently as the past 2 weeks on progress of fit out and rehabbing the iPark 87 facility. And I think that's all I have at this moment, but happy to address any other questions in particular as much as I can.
Thank you, Rob.
Sure.
I will now open this public hearing for public comment at 7:18 p.m. and ask Council Scott to provide some information related to the operating rules of the public hearing.
Thank you, Chair. By way of operating rules, if you wish to make a public comment, please raise your hand and the chair will call on you. Please wait to be recognized. Once recognized, please stand and state your name and address for the record. We typically limit comments to 3 minutes. Given the relatively small number of attendees tonight, we don't see that to be an issue. If your comments mirror those of someone else who has already spoken, you may so indicate and then relinquish the podium to another speaker so that all views represented at this hearing may be heard. When everyone has had the opportunity to speak, the chair will conclude the public hearing. A record of this public hearing will be prepared and reviewed by the members of the agency in connection with the agency's consideration of the proposed project. For the record, the stenographic record is being made of this public hearing, so the members of the agency, when they read the record, will see exactly what took place at the public hearing. In order to ensure that the public has adequate time to provide comments to the agency on this proposed project, the agency will hold the comment period for this proposed project open until 5 p.m. June 19, 2023. All comments received by the close of business on June 19, 2023 will be included in the official record of the agency with respect to the proposed project. Again, the purpose of this public hearing is to solicit public comment. We're not here to answer questions. However, we will, in the course of this public hearing, consider questions if we have the information to answer the questions, and there is sufficient time to consider such questions. I will now ask if there's anyone attending the public hearing who wishes to comment on either the nature and location of the project facility or the proposed financial assistance being contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. And I'll pass this back to Chairman Ham to call on anyone with respect to making public comments.
I will now move forward to open this for public comment. Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Ham and members of the board of the Ulster County Industrial Development Agency. My name is Regis Obajeski. I reside at 170 Ledge Road in the town of Ulster, and I am the vice chair of the Town of Ulster Citizens.org. The Town of Ulster Citizens.org is a nonpartisan citizen organization focused on increasing citizen engagement in the affairs affecting the quality of life in the town of Ulster. In general, we have been very supportive of the efforts of the National Resources as they thoughtfully develop iPark 87, especially green businesses like Zinc8 Energy Solutions. We wish to register our support not only for the Zinc8 original application to the Ulster County IDA dated December 22nd, 2022, but also for the April 17th, 2023 supplement to the original application in which Zinc8 requests exemption from state local tax sales and use taxes estimated to equal $186,000 and tax-exempt bond financing in the aggregate principal amount of approximately $10 million. Thank you for hosting this public hearing at the Town of Ulster Town Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Obajeski.
Thank you.
I got that right? Perfect. Look at that. Huh?
Ham, right?
That, you got that right, yes. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Mr. Steve Kelly?
Hi, I'm Steve Kelly from Highland, New York. And I just came to speak in favor of this project. I think that this is the kind of project that we should be trying to recruit into Ulster County. Clean support of creating innovation in batteries, in this particular case, using zinc, which is it's not mined by slaves in Africa or something like that, as other cobalt is. So there is just it's non-toxic. It's going to provide a lot of jobs here in Ulster County, and it's going to be the kind of innovation that I think will lead to other innovations as we are transitioning our energy structure in the United States. So I'm very much in favor of this, and I wanted to say so.
Thank you, Steve. I am. Supervisor Quigley.
No comment tonight.
Thank you, Supervisor. I will now move forward to close this public hearing. But before I close the public hearing, I'll ask once again if Rob Parker, appearing on behalf of the company, has any additional comments. Rob?
Just double checking my notes. Rob Parker again for Zinc8 Energy. One thing I did want to make sure I put on the record is how appreciative the company has been of the support of the community and the state as it's evaluated various opportunities of where to grow the business and its technology. And while obviously everything is still in process, it's been just a tremendously supportive group and community here about moving things forward and helping us figure out what we need to get done, because as the Canadians on the team discovered, what municipal bonds were. So there's been a lot to learn on our side of things, and we've appreciated everyone's support and education on the process, and excited to become a part of the community and help it grow. Thank you.
That's it? Okay. Thank you, Rob. And I will remind everybody here that the agency will hold the comment period for this proposed project open until 5 p.m. on June 19th of 2023. All comments received by the close of business on June 19th, 2023 will be included into the official record of the agency with respect to the proposed project. Further, the meeting at which the agency will formally consider the comments received regarding the proposed project is scheduled for June 21st, 2023 at 9 a.m. This meeting, like all meetings of the agency, is open to the public. So I now move to close this public hearing at 7:25 p.m. Thank you all for attending.